Welcome back to an episode that is going to be all about planters. Now these 6 I have made in advance. I'm going to be making a few more. First up, over here we have my 3 natural-ish looking rock planters. I always put rocks in a separate group because that way I can recolor all of them at once in case I want them some crazy color, which I don't. Over here I used the stone arch. Just plop down 2 of them, lying down like that. Shoved some mulch in the middle, tree, few flowers, done. Over here I have a couple of these flat-topped faux rocks and a few of the round scraggly looking ones, a couple of the little stone piles, mulch, plants, done. Now as you can see, if I took this one, this looks not that great, but as soon as you start filling it in, even just with the mulch, it looks much better. So here we have a dry grasslands version of it. Could also fill it with some of my least favorite flowers. These are particularly my least favorite because it annoys me that I can't recolor them. They're actually quite pretty, but I really want blue and yellow and everything else versions as well. Okay, I do kind of like them. Then we just put one of these fan palms in the middle. Maybe add one more for a little bit extra height. We can give it a bit more volume at the bottom here. Now this and this, the same flower bed, but very different looks. You can also see if I want it higher. With this one, that is not a problem. Say I'm building in a habitat where the animals would potentially be able to climb onto it, and I don't want that. Well, I can just add a few more rocks like this around the edge to make sure that it isn't just the same and the same and the same all the way around. And just like that, we have a new one. One more faux rock flower bed. This one over here, I just only use these, which makes it extremely easy to create your own versions of this. Just put on random rotation. Make sure you are not snapping to surface, because then you will start seeing them snapping to each other. And then what I did do with the original one, just tilt them ever so slightly. Make sure that the bottom part out here is still underground. You don't want floating rocks. And then after you have tilted all of them, it's time for the usual mulch. And now in this one you probably will have some rocks in here in the middle too. And with that done, all I have to do is decide what kind of plants I want in it. The great thing about these is you can make them pretty much any shape you want. You could easily make it triangular or square with this sort of jagged looking natural edge, which means they're great for covering holes in the path. And you will end up having holes in the path because we all know that the pathing system in this game is sometimes a word I cannot say on YouTube. That looks nice. And then all we need is a little tree in the middle. Let us do what we did last time and combine a few different versions of it to get the shape that we want. See, this tree isn't in the game. Now, when you're lifting up trees, you have to go kind of close to the trunk and make sure that it still looks natural. Because some of the trees, let me demonstrate here, this is one of the ones that looks really good if you twist it and you sink it down like that, so you get a fuller version of it. But if instead you twist it and then lift it up, it looks fine from out here, but now over here, these are also stone flower beds, but they're made from these blocks. And what one might naturally want to do would be plop one down here, move another one out here, and just start rotating them like that. Yes, they will be flickering on the inner part, but that doesn't matter because you'll only see the outside, which is why I'm trying to get this corner as close as I can, even if this corner is overlapping. And doing this does get you a really nice circle, but when you go around it, you can see all of the rocks have the same side pointing out. So if you do this, I recommend clicking X, putting angle snap on, and then just flipping them in order to avoid having a pattern like this just repeated on every single stone. And rotate some of them one way, some of them the other way, so that you get a more interesting pattern. These have 4 sides, so take advantage of that. Then you want to grab all of them, copy in place, lift them up, and then rotate them on top of themselves. Because when building these things in real life, one would always make sure that this open part rests on top of a closed part, and vice versa. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a row of single stone towers, and that is going to fall down. And again, of course, what we do is plop. So, whoa, that actually fit perfectly with the big one. And here, I don't want to go all the way to the top. Now, I am not going to put any plants in that one. I'm just going to let you play with it. And you can see, the smaller they get, the more difficult it is to place the rocks properly. This one up here, the top, not optimal. But what you can do is camouflage it with whatever plants you're putting in it. If those plants are of a type that might sort of grow out like that. And this one, I think, is quite convincingly that type of plant. Now, this one, I put it in the middle of this because that thing does look pretty good if you're planning on building a fountain and you place other fountain things on top of it. But if you just put this thing down, why? So I did this instead. I also used this as a watering hole for an animal. And no, they can't drink out of this, but you can lower it down, put water in it, and do a little trick. That will be part of the next episode. Last stone build I did is this one, where I plop them down a few at a time, twisting and turning and creating more of a kidney-shaped, or I guess snowman shaped, whatever you want to call it. Over here I also did something I like. If I end up with a hole that's just way too big, I put down one of these sunken way into the ground, because then it kind of looks like the stone has crumbled, and that's why there's a hole. Now these are all rock-based flower beds, but there are plenty of other things you can use. Go into construction and pretty much scroll down. I mean, you can use this O if you want to, or the larger 0. And this may not be intended as a flower bed, but if you use the small mulch from the conservation pack, it can work. Anything that can be sunken down can be turned into a planter if it has a hole in the middle. These make excellent flower beds, and I love those little birds. So let's say we want this part some more of a wind-worn natural wood color. We want our birds to just be a slightly brighter version of that, and then we really just want our lines to be black. Yes, that is the flower bed that I want in my fictitious dinosaur bird zoo. So those are options. You could use this thing. Sink that in here all the way down there. Wait, what if we flip this one upside down? Okay, yes, that also looks good. See, I didn't even know I could do this until I did it. The point is, always experiment. And also, always recolor, because a lot of these things may be very versatile once you take off the thematic coloring. Look at that, we have a little bowl with dirt in it. If you click the fountain tab, so many of these can also be used if you just make sure that the mulch is further up than the water. Look at that. Nobody knows that that has water in it. That doesn't have any water in it. That could be something for plants. This could be something. This would actually look great as a planter up against a wall. Look at that. You could even combine fountain and planter if you just make sure that this one doesn't have dirt in the bottom. And then what if we add a small jet? I wasn't planning on building any fountains. Sometimes things just happen. This is actually why I decided to do this whole workshop Wednesday thing. But I want to have a place where I can just play with things and see what happens. Okay, so that right down there is not great. These round ones can be used for that. So now we have a thing. apart from round things with holes in them and fountain things, you can use the rope coils and fit just a small plant in here. These are great for plopping on the table at a restaurant. You can use these, of course, too. You can make a nice large round flower bed using the round wall pieces. What about this thing? If you place this one here and then flip it around like that and move it out here, we have a flower bed. It's really all about finding something that has the size, shape, color, etc. that you want. You could have a cardboard box with dirt in it. You could have a metal pan with dirt in it. Something like this. You can just have a plant sticking out of the top, even if that plant is just a pineapple. That looks like a carrot. If you want to, you can fill a canoe with dirt. And you don't even have to have a bright canoe. You can just make all of it brown or black or whatever floats your boat, pun fully intended. You can also just go in here and grab a window. Look at something like this. If we flip this one up like that and like this, so now we can see we should have a slightly shorter space between them. Yep, that works. So there we have a custom wooden flower bed. The bottom may need some work. We also have this window. Decorate these sides with stuff. That's a bit big. But hey, you could also make a flower bed from these. Never done that before. But let's try. Yeah. And of course, if you don't want them multicolored, look at that. Just fill that in. Actually, let's actually just do that again. Trial, error, and learning. See, if we put this mulch in the right position and then do the same over here. Okay, so this is not entirely convincing. Okay, I see what's wrong. Delete. Because the two pieces of mulch were not in exactly the same everything, which means that the center of the whole thing becomes off-center. Whereas if we do this, it should work. Yes. Grab all of the mulches, reduce the angle snap to 30 degrees, plop. We have now covered. We also have a very weird looking hole in the middle, but no, we don't. In conclusion, anything that can be turned around can probably be made into a planter. Whether you're combining just two pieces, like this one, or you're angle snapping things into a circle like this one, or these ones, or whether you are hand placing individual items like this, or simply filling in an existing object with mulch. Really, the only limitation is your creativity, and of course, which packs you own. But whatever the case may be, I encourage you to never, ever stop playing. After all, this is just a game. And the first thing you do might look completely ridiculous, but your second attempt might not. What the flip is going on out there? Is that supposed to... Is that a shadow? Or is it the gate to another dimension? That's weird.